Toastmaster, who is, we all know, right? Toastmaster Bob Schwartz.
All right, everybody, here comes the speeches. Get all my little pieces of paper. Patty, have yours. No, Mary, I don't have yours. So
Yes, you do.
I'll get yours in just.
Well, Matthew's first.
Yeah, I'll get yours in just a second. I was just double checking who I had. All right, so, all right. This is project number 3 for this gentleman and competent communicator. Mr. Will, his time will be 5 to 7 minutes. And the reason he chose this speech is because he loves sports and is a huge fan. The title of his speech is In the Big Leagues. And here is Matthew Quackenbush.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, in the big leagues. Baseball and football, 2 of America's greatest sports, drawing in tens of millions of fans each year. Great rivalries, the Steelers, the Raiders, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. Massively televised, debated, die-hard fan base. Let's take a look at some of the pros and cons of these 2 popular professional sports. Let's start with popularity. In the NFL, ticket sales each year are around 17 million, and in Major League Baseball, they're around 40 million, just over 40 million in ticket sales. So, judging from this, most people would think that baseball is a more popular sport than football because they more than double the ticket sales. But that brings us to the length of the season. In the National Football League, they only play 16 games, but in Major League Baseball, they play 162, unless they go into postseason or the Super Bowl or the World Series. So that's more than 10 times the amount of games with just over double ticket sales. So actually football is more popular going off of ticket sales. Career length for players, contract length for players in the NFL is 2 to 4 years, and in Major League Baseball is 3 to 5 years. So this is relatively close, just a little bit longer for Major League Baseball. And career length in the NFL is 3 years on average. A player coming out of college and drafted in the NFL could expect to play in the NFL for 3 years. And in Major League Baseball, it's over 6 years. It's more than twice the amount of time, average career in that sport. And most people would say, well, that's because of football being a contact sport, and that's absolutely the truth. In the NFL, injuries are each year exceed 3,000 injuries, and in Major League Baseball, it's just over 400. So there are 8 times more injuries in the NFL than there are in Major League Baseball. And in baseball, the majority of injuries are to the throwing arm, either in the elbow or the shoulder. And with modern medicine, surgery, rehabilitation, a lot of these injuries can be recovered from and the players back playing in a relatively short amount of time. But in the NFL, the injuries tend to be a lot more severe and can include, but are not limited to, muscle tears, ligament tears, tendon tears, joint dislocation, broken bones, bleeding internally and externally, nerve damage, paralysis, and even death. Though it is rare, It has happened, and this happens primarily to key players such as cornerbacks, wide receivers, running backs, players that have the ball more often tend to have the shortest careers also because they are tackled regularly. The tackle in the NFL is comparable to being in a car accident. They're very, very like, and in the NFL, when a player is tackled, there are actually two impacts that take place. The first one is when the player hits the other player is one impact. The second impact is the player's internal organs colliding with the inside of the body. A lot of us know one, which would be a concussion, when the brain hits the inside of the skull, can cause bleeding and can be quite severe. So that's a huge reason why football careers tend to be shorter than baseball. One player that I know of was Bo Jackson. He played both baseball and football, and he got the opportunity of playing a few years, but it was football that ended his career. Not so much in the sense of ended his career playing sport, because he continued to play baseball after that, but it ended his career as being Bo Jackson. Whenever he went out on the field, you could still see a little bit of sparkle, but he never shined the way that he did before. And it's a risk that players take when they play these games, unfortunately, but without risk, there's no reward. In conclusion, each sport has its pros and cons. Football players have a higher risk of injury, but they only have to play one game a week for 16 weeks. And baseball players have to play 162 games a year, some of them twice in the same day. So hard work and sacrifice yield the greatest rewards. Without risk, there is no reward. For the players in the NFL and Major League Baseball, it's a great career, it's a great life. For the players of each of these sports, those fortunate enough to compete on the professional level, to play on the diamond or the gridiron, the people that make these titans of professional sports possible, the players in the big leagues. Madam Toastmaster.
What a great job.